The Terran exploration vessel Aurora's light drifted silently through the Veil Nebula, its engines humming softly as it scanned the space ahead. The nebula glowed in green and blue clouds, and stars twinkled like tiny fires in the distance. Inside the ship, the crew moved quickly, checking instruments and monitoring their sensors. The mission was simple: explore, record, and report. But this quiet sector of space had always been dangerous. Signals from an old derelict ship had appeared on their scanners weeks ago, and curiosity had drawn the crew closer. Lieutenant Aaron Cole stood near the viewport, watching the glowing clouds swirl around the abandoned ship. It was massive, far larger than any human vessel, and looked broken. Its hull had deep scars like it had been in many battles. The ship was drifting slowly, its own engines dead, and Aaron could see parts of it glowing faintly from residual power. He felt a shiver run down his spine. Something about the ship made the hairs on the back of his neck rise. "Lieutenant?" said Lieutenant Kara Hill, coming up behind him. She had short brown hair, sharp eyes, and a quiet strength that Aaron always admired. "The salvage team is ready. Do you want to lead the boarding?" Aaron nodded, feeling both excitement and fear. "I'll go first," he said. "We don't know what's inside. It's better to scout." The small shuttle detached from the Aurora's light, moving carefully toward the derelict ship. The interior of the ship was dark and silent, lit only by the shuttle's lights. Dust floated in the air like tiny stars. Aaron and his team moved slowly, their footsteps echoing in the vast halls. Strange shapes and shadows danced along the walls, and the silence was heavy. "Stay close," Aaron whispered. "Keep your eyes open. Anything could be here." The halls of the alien ship were enormous, wider than anything Aaron had seen before. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, glowing faintly with blue light. The team passed rooms filled with broken machinery, torn metal, and strange, lifeless shapes. Some of the shapes looked almost human, but twisted in ways that made Aaron feel uneasy. They reached a large chamber in the heart of the ship. In the center, a crystalline pod stood tall and shining, filled with a faint, pulsing light. Inside was a figure, a woman lying motionless, her hair spread out in silver waves, glimmering even in the dim light. Aaron felt his breath catch. "Is she alive?" whispered one of the crew, a young technician named Luke. Aaron stepped closer, scanning the pod with his device. "Vitals are faint," he said, "but she's alive. Somehow she's been kept in stasis all this time." The others looked at him, uncertain. "We should report this," said another crew member. "This isn't our discovery. We can't touch it." Aaron shook his head. "No. We don't know what will happen if we leave her. If we report first, someone might take her and do experiments. I can't let that happen. We need to bring her back with us." The team hesitated, but Aaron's calm voice and determined eyes convinced them. Carefully, they lifted the pod onto the shuttle. Aaron watched her face through the glass. Even though she did not move, he felt a strange connection. Her eyes were closed, her face peaceful, but there was something about her presence that made him feel uneasy and fascinated at the same time. Back on the Aurora's light, the pod was moved into a secure laboratory. Scientists and medical officers swarmed around it, studying every detail. Aaron stayed nearby, watching her, feeling that no one else truly understood what he felt. The woman had been alone for so long, trapped in silence, and somehow he felt responsible for her. Days passed. The scientists tried to wake her, adjusting the stasis pod, running tests, and giving her small doses of energizing chemicals. She moved slightly once, a finger twitching, but mostly she remained still. Aaron stayed with her as much as he could. He spoke to her gently, telling her about Earth, about his life, about what it was like to feel the sun on your skin, or to drink water straight from a stream. She didn't respond, but sometimes he thought he saw a flicker of understanding in her closed eyes. One night, Aaron sat in the lab alone. The pod glowed softly in the darkness. He rested his hand on the glass and whispered, "I know you're scared, but you're not alone anymore." It was then that the pod made a soft hiss and cracked slightly. A thin line of frost appeared on the edges, spreading slowly. Aaron's heart raced. The woman's chest began to rise and fall more noticeably. Her fingers twitched again, and she opened her eyes slightly. The glow of her violet irises surprised him. They were unlike anything he had seen. Human eyes were simple in comparison. Hers seemed to hold entire galaxies inside. She looked around, confused, and her gaze fell on Aaron. For a long moment, she simply stared as if trying to recognize him. or perhaps trying to understand if he was friend or threat. Aaron held her gaze, keeping his voice soft. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." She flinched slightly at his words. Something about her made it clear that she had not known kindness for a long time. The stasis pod had preserved her body, but it could not protect her mind from years of fear and isolation. Aaron realized then that waking her up was only the first step. Earning her trust would be the true challenge. In the days that followed, Aaron stayed by her side more than anyone else. He helped adjust the pod so she could sit up safely. He brought her food and water, speaking slowly and clearly. At first she didn't take anything, but eventually she hesitated and then slowly reached for a small cup of water. When her fingers brushed his, she froze completely, her body stiff and unresponsive. Aaron didn't pull away. He kept his hand still, letting her feel that there was no threat. The moment passed slowly, and she relaxed, taking the cup and drinking. It was a small victory, but it filled Aaron with hope. He learned her name was Kalira. It was difficult for her to pronounce human sounds, but he tried to repeat her name gently until she could make the sound herself. She was not human, but Aaron treated her as one of them. He spoke to her about Earth, showed her pictures, told her stories of children playing in fields, of oceans, and of forests. Kalira watched everything quietly, her expression unreadable at first. Aaron noticed how cautious she was. Every time someone approached, she would tense, shrink back, or close her eyes. It was clear that she had been alone for a long time, perhaps centuries. Her kind had punished her by taking everything from her freedom, her family, her people, and now she had to learn trust again. Despite her caution, small things started to change. She would reach for objects without fear, follow Aaron's hands when he showed her something, and sometimes when he told a story. Her lips would twitch in a smile. It was faint, barely there, but it was enough to show Aaron that she was beginning to remember what warmth and care felt like. Aaron spent long nights sitting beside her pod, brushing her hair gently, showing her gestures and speaking softly. It was the first touch she had felt in years, and it startled her. She would stiffen, then slowly relax when she realized he meant no harm. Aaron thought about how fragile trust could be and how brave she must be to allow it again. One evening, Aaron asked her, "Do you remember the war?" His voice was low. Kalira's eyes widened slightly. She looked away, her hand trembling as it rested on the pod's edge. She did not answer, but Aaron could see a storm of memories in her eyes. He didn't press. Some things took time. The days blended together. Aaron and Kalira began a routine. Meals, language lessons, small exercises, and quiet companionship. The other crew members admired Aaron's patience, but did not fully understand why he cared so much. For him, Kalira was more than an alien or a subject. She was a being who had been denied life, denied touch, denied kindness, and he was determined to change that. The stasis pod remained in the lab, but Kalira's presence brought life to the room. Machines and instruments no longer felt like cold metal. They were part of a space that now held laughter, quiet conversation, and shared silence. Aaron began to feel that something greater than duty had taken root, a bond born not of obligation, but of respect, trust, and hope. And so, in the cold silence of the Aurora's light, with stars shimmering outside the viewport, a human and an alien began a fragile journey together. One was learning to trust, the other learning how to protect. Neither knew what dangers waited in the vastness of space, but one thing was certain. Kalira would never be alone again, and Aaron had no intention of letting anything take her away. Kalira began to move more freely in the lab. Her body was slow and careful at first, as if she was afraid it might break from motion. Aaron watched her closely, making sure she didn't hurt herself. He learned that even the smallest touch made her stiffen, but he never forced her. He learned to wait, to give her space, and to show that he meant no harm. Each day he brought her small gifts, a soft cloth to clean her hands, a warm drink, a picture of a human sunrise. At first she only stared at them, unsure what to do, but slowly she began to reach out, touch them, and even hold them for a moment. It was a small thing, but Aaron felt proud. He began teaching her language more seriously. At first, Kalira could not speak much. Her voice was soft, almost like a whisper. Aaron would say a word, then wait, and she would try to repeat it. Sometimes she would succeed, and sometimes she would shake her head, frustrated. Aaron never criticized her. "It's okay," he would say. "Take your time. You'll get it." One morning, Kalira looked at him with wide eyes and said a word clearly. "Aaron." It was her first real word spoken without prompting. Aaron's heart raced. "Yes," he said softly, smiling. "That's your name too, Kalira. We say each other's names." She repeated it slowly, as if tasting the sound. The small moment made them both feel closer. Aaron noticed she liked quiet spaces. She often sat by the lab window watching the stars. Sometimes she would trace patterns in the condensation on the glass, drawing shapes that reminded Aaron of the alien symbols on her ship. He tried to copy them with a pen and paper, and she would nod approvingly. Aaron realized that art and patterns were part of her memory, part of what made her feel safe. The crew grew curious about her progress. Some were skeptical. "She's just an alien," one engineer said. "She doesn't understand us. Why bother being so patient?" Aaron ignored him. He had learned long ago that patience was not weakness. If anything, it was the strongest thing he could give her. Kalira began to show signs of emotion. One day, while Aaron told her a story about a human child who had learned to walk for the first time, she laughed. It was a strange, soft sound, almost musical, and it surprised everyone in the lab. Aaron laughed too, a little awkwardly. The crew looked at each other, amazed. She had not spoken or laughed for so long, and now she had found joy again. As days passed, Aaron learned more about her past. Kalira could not speak fully, but through gestures, drawings, and brief words, he understood that she had been a commander in her people's army. She had led soldiers, fought battles, and been respected, but her people had betrayed her. They had trapped her in stasis as punishment for something she had not done. Aaron felt a deep sadness for her. He could not imagine being alone for so many years, frozen and forgotten. Kalira seemed to remember her own strength as well. She watched Aaron carefully, her eyes scanning him in the room as if she were calculating, planning. Sometimes she would stand up and move with surprising speed and grace, like a predator learning to walk again after a long sleep. Aaron admired her, but he also knew he needed to be careful. She was powerful, and he did not want to frighten her. One day Aaron brought a brush. It was soft, gentle, and meant for her hair. He held it out slowly. "May I?" he asked, though she could not fully understand the words. Kalira stared at it, her body tense. Her eyes widened, and she froze completely. Aaron could see her pulse in her neck. He did not pull back. He moved slowly, letting her feel the brush in the air, showing that it was not a weapon. Kalira's fingers twitched, almost as if she wanted to push it away, but she did not. Aaron began brushing her hair gently. It slid through silver strands like water. Kalira froze at first, then gradually relaxed. Her eyes softened, and she let out a quiet sigh. Afterward, she did not speak, but Aaron could see that she had begun to trust him in a new way. The small act of care, something simple for humans, had a huge impact on her. For the first time in centuries, she felt someone had touched her with kindness, not with orders or punishment. Aaron smiled at her. "See, it's okay. You don't have to be afraid." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. It was the first time she had acknowledged anyone's reassurance fully. The bond between them grew. Kalira began to follow him when he moved through the lab. She started trying to speak more words, slowly forming simple sentences. "Food, water, thank you," she said one day, and Aaron's heart swelled. It was not perfect English, but it was hers, and that was enough. Aaron also taught her about human customs. They shared simple meals together, and he explained how people greeted each other, how they laughed, and how they showed care. Kalira was fascinated. She tried to mimic laughter, to smile, and sometimes to make small jokes. It was awkward at first, but gradually she learned. Aaron laughed with her, enjoying these moments of connection. One evening, Kalira sat by the window staring at the stars. Aaron joined her. "Do you like it here?" he asked softly. She looked at him, then back at the stars, and said, "Yes, peaceful." Aaron smiled. It was the first time she had expressed contentment openly, but the calm did not last long. Sensors on the ship suddenly beeped urgently. Aaron checked the readings. "Something's coming," he said, frowning. Outside, a small fleet of unknown ships appeared at the edge of the nebula. Their shapes were angular and dark, and they moved with purpose. Aaron realized immediately that they were not here for exploration. They were hunters. Kalira stiffened, sensing danger. She had lived through wars before, and her body reacted before her mind could. Aaron placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "It's okay," he said. "We'll handle this together." She looked at him, her violet eyes wide with fear, but also with something new, trust. She believed he would not let harm come to her. The crew scrambled to battle stations. Aaron stayed with Kalira, helping her understand the situation. She tried to speak words of her language, warning him, but the translators could not keep up. Still, her gestures made sense. She pointed to the ships, then to the lab, indicating they needed to protect the pod and themselves. Aaron nodded. "I understand," he said. When the enemy ships fired, the Aurora's light moved quickly. Aaron coordinated the crew, taking instructions from Kalira when she indicated possible weak points in the attackers' formations. Even though she was not fully awake to the new technology, her strategic mind was sharp, remembering tactics and maneuvers from battles long ago. Aaron realized that her skills could be the key to surviving this encounter. After hours of tense maneuvering, the attacking ships withdrew. They had underestimated the humans, and Kalira's guidance had made the difference. The crew cheered quietly, relieved but still wary. Kalira looked at Aaron, her face showing a mixture of pride, fear, and gratitude. "Thank you," she said slowly. Aaron smiled. "No, Kalira. Thank you. You helped save us." She blinked, absorbing the meaning of his words. She had helped, and for the first time she realized she was not weak. She could be useful, strong, and alive, not just a prisoner in stasis. That night, Aaron stayed by her pod. He brushed her hair again, gently, slowly. She closed her eyes and let him, leaning slightly toward the touch. Aaron felt a deep connection with her, stronger than anything he had experienced before. They were not just human and alien. They were two beings learning to trust each other, learning to live again after long years of fear and loneliness. As Kalira drifted to a calm sleep, Aaron whispered, "Tomorrow will be better. We will face anything together." Outside the lab, the stars shimmered quietly as if approving of this new bond. Kalira, the once frozen prisoner, was slowly waking to a world where she could be free again. And for the first time, she knew someone would stand beside her. Aaron left the lab that night, tired but hopeful. He knew more challenges were coming, but he also knew that they had started something important. Kalira was no longer alone, and he would do everything he could to keep it that way. Kalira's confidence was growing. Each day she spent on the Aurora's light, she learned a little more about humans, their ways, and their emotions. But she also remembered who she was, her training, her skills, and her instincts. Aaron noticed it the most when she moved through the ship with purpose, analyzing the corridors, the equipment, and even the crew. She was no ordinary being. She was a commander, and her mind was sharp. Aaron sat beside her one morning, holding a cup of warm tea. "You're stronger than you think," he said. Kalira looked at him, her violet eyes deep and steady. She hesitated, then spoke in a slow, careful voice. "I remember war." Her words were halting, but Aaron understood. She carried memories that were long and painful, memories of battles, betrayal, and loss. Aaron nodded gently. "And you're still here. That makes you strong too." She studied him for a long moment, as if weighing his words, and then she gave a small nod. It was a gesture she rarely made, but Aaron could see it as acceptance. She was learning to trust him, not just in moments of care, but in moments of truth. Later that day, the crew gathered to discuss the damaged sections of the derelict ship they had brought aboard. Aaron noticed Kalira observing quietly, her hands folded in front of her. She did not speak, but her gaze was alert. Then, when a small explosion shook the lab from a minor technical fault, she reacted immediately. She grabbed a console and rerouted power, stopping the sparks from spreading. The crew gasped. "How did you know what to do?" one of them asked. Kalira turned to them, her voice calm, though accented and strange. "I trained for war," she said. "I understand machines. Understand systems." Aaron felt a spark of pride. She had not only survived her long imprisonment, but she had retained the skills that made her powerful. She was more than an ally. She could protect them all. After the incident, Aaron approached her. "You're amazing," he said softly. Kalira looked down, unsure how to respond. I'm not used to praise," she admitted, her voice quiet. Aaron smiled. "Then let's practice. You can accept it slowly, every day a little more." She tilted her head, as if considering the strange human custom of complimenting someone, and then allowed a small, almost shy smile. The next days were filled with routine, but tension lingered. The Dominion fleet had not returned, but Aaron knew they were still out there, watching, waiting. Kalira's senses were sharper than any human's, and she often warned him when the sensors picked up subtle movements. She began pointing out areas of the ship that could be fortified, teaching Aaron and the crew ways to prepare. One night, Aaron found her in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Kalira did not answer at first. Then she said, "I see soldiers, see war. Remember strategy. Danger comes again." Her voice carried weight, a sense of warning. Aaron nodded. "Then we will be ready. You and I, together." She studied him, her expression unreadable. Then finally, she allowed herself to relax slightly. Aaron realized that the more Kalira trusted him, the more human she seemed. Her body was still alien, her features strange, but her emotions and reactions were beginning to mirror his. She laughed when he told her a joke, frowned when she was frustrated, and even touched his arm lightly when she wanted to emphasize a point. The simple act of touch had once terrified her, but now she was learning to accept it. One afternoon, while Aaron was working on the engines, Kalira approached with a look of concern. "Aaron, danger." "Near," she said urgently. Aaron followed her to the viewport. A small fleet of ships had appeared at the edge of the nebula, moving fast and deliberate. These ships were not like the first attackers. They were bigger, better armed, and clearly prepared for battle. Aaron's stomach tightened. "We have to warn the crew," he said. Kalira nodded, then did something surprising. She moved to the console, her hands flying over the controls with precision. Aaron watched in awe. "She's taking over the defense system," he whispered. The crew looked on, amazed at how quickly she understood the human technology. Kalira's mind was sharp, trained for war, and she adapted quickly. When the enemy ships opened fire, the Aurora's light moved swiftly, dodging shots with unexpected skill. Kalira guided Aaron, pointing out weak points in their formation, suggesting maneuvers that only someone with experience could know. She shouted commands in her own language, and the crew followed, trusting her instincts. Aaron marveled at her. She had been frozen for centuries, yet she was already helping them survive. The battle raged for hours. The enemy ships were relentless, but Kalira remained calm, directing the crew with precision. Aaron realized that her fear had not disappeared, but it had been replaced with focus and determination. She was no longer a prisoner, no longer a frightened soul. She was a warrior again, and she was fighting for them, humans she had just met, as if they were her own. When the battle ended, the enemy ships retreated. The crew cheered, exhausted but relieved. Kalira sank into a chair, her hands trembling slightly. Aaron went to her side, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "You did amazing," he said softly. She looked at him, her violet eyes filled with emotion. "I protect you," she said quietly. Her words were simple, but their meaning was clear. She had chosen them. She had chosen to trust and protect these humans. That night, Aaron helped her settle back into her pod. He brushed her hair gently as he had done before, and she closed her eyes, leaning into the touch. "Thank you for everything," she whispered. Aaron smiled. "No, Kalira. Thank you for trusting me, for helping us. We could not have done it without you." She stayed quiet, letting the moment linger. For the first time, Aaron felt that she was truly beginning to heal from the years of isolation and fear. The next morning, Kalira moved through the ship with more confidence. She trained with the crew, teaching them alien techniques for strategy, defense, and survival. She showed them how to use the ship's systems in ways humans had never considered. Aaron watched, impressed and proud. She was not just surviving, she was thriving. As days passed, Kalira began to explore more of the ship. She wandered into the cargo bays, the engine rooms, and even the observation deck. She studied the stars, maps, and instruments, learning quickly. Aaron sometimes followed her, keeping an eye on her, but he realized she needed independence too. He let her move freely, trusting her judgment. One evening, Kalira approached him with a small hand-drawn map. It showed the Dominion fleet's likely route, their positions, and possible weaknesses. Aaron studied it, amazed at her insight. "You've thought of everything," he said. She nodded. "I remember strategy. Remember war. Not forget." Aaron smiled. "Then we have a plan." But he also knew that the coming days would not be easy. The Dominion fleet was out there, and they would not give up easily. Aaron felt a mix of fear and determination. They had survived once, but the real test was coming. Kalira, once frozen and alone, was now ready to fight, and he was ready to stand beside her. That night, Aaron sat with Kalira again. He brushed her hair and she leaned into the touch, no longer stiff or afraid. "I trust you," she said softly. Aaron's heart raced. That simple statement carried more meaning than anything else. She had not trusted anyone in centuries, and now she had chosen him. Aaron smiled. "And I trust you too," he said. "We will face whatever comes together." Kalira nodded, her violet eyes shining in the dim light. For the first time, they both felt a sense of hope. They were no longer just a human and an alien. They were partners, allies, and friends. As they looked out at the stars, Aaron realized something important. The universe was dangerous, full of enemies and unknown threats, but it was also full of connection, trust, and courage. Kalira had reminded him of that, and he had reminded her that kindness and patience could exist even in the darkest places. And together, they would face whatever came next side by side, ready to protect each other and those who depended on them. Kalira had grown stronger every day. Her confidence and trust in Aaron and the crew had increased, and she now moved through the ship with purpose and authority. She no longer flinched when touched, and she even began speaking more clearly in English, though her accent was still strange. The crew had started to follow her advice without question, and Aaron watched with pride. She was no longer the frightened prisoner they had found in the derelict ship. She was a leader, but the Dominion fleet was still out there. Aaron could feel it in the tension that lingered in the ship. Sensors detected movements at the edge of the nebula, and the crew worked tirelessly to strengthen defenses. Kalira spent hours studying maps and star charts, pointing out where the enemy might strike next. She had not just adapted to human technology, she had improved it. Her strategic mind, honed in centuries of alien war, was now being used to protect humans. One morning, Aaron found Kalira alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You seem worried," he said softly, approaching her. "I see fleet." "Moving," she said, her violet eyes scanning the dark space. "They coming faster?" Prepared, Aaron nodded. "We will be ready. We have each other and we have the crew. We can handle it." Kalira turned to him, her expression serious. "I'm not sure. Can trust all humans," she admitted. "Some fear me, some doubt me," Aaron smiled gently. "You've trusted me. That's what matters. Others will follow when they see your strength and courage." She considered this, then nodded slowly. The first attack came suddenly without warning. Sensors screamed, alarms blared, and the crew rushed to battle stations. Aaron and Kalira stood together on the bridge, eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. These ships were larger and more numerous than before, their weapons glowing ominously. Kalira studied them carefully. 3, 4, 5 squads, she said quickly. "They flank left, right, center." Aaron nodded and relayed her instructions to the crew. "Follow Kalira's lead. She knows their patterns." As the enemy opened fire, the Aurora's light moved with precision. Kalira's commands were fast and clear, guiding human pilots and gunners alike. The crew followed her without hesitation, trusting her instincts completely. Aaron marveled at her ability to remain calm under fire, at how she coordinated the defense as if it were a dance. During the battle, Kalira noticed a small squad of enemy ships trying to sneak behind the fleet and strike the ship's engines. She shouted to Aaron, "Engines! Weak! Left side! Stop them!" Aaron directed the crew to respond immediately. Kalira moved to the controls, her hands flying over the panels. She was fast, precise, and fearless. The enemy squad did not expect the counterattack. Human gunners, guided by Kalira's commands, destroyed the ships before they could reach the engines. The bridge erupted with cheers, but Kalira did not celebrate. Her mind was already focused on the next threat. After the battle, the ship was damaged but still operational. Kalira inspected the systems, moving through the engine room and the control panels with careful attention. Aaron followed, offering help when needed, but mostly giving her space. She worked efficiently, fixing problems humans could not even identify. "You are amazing," Aaron said quietly, watching her. Kalira paused, her hands on a control panel. "I only survive," she said. "Protect those I care for." Aaron felt a deep respect for her. He realized that her strength was not just in her training or her skills, but in her heart. She had endured centuries of fear, betrayal, and isolation, yet she still chose to protect others. Humans who were strangers to her had become people she cared about. The calm after the battle did not last long. Kalira sensed movement outside the nebula again.
Another group.
Coming, she said. Stronger, faster. More ships, Aaron nodded. Then we prepare. We cannot let them catch us off guard. Kalira spent hours with the crew teaching them new strategies. She showed them how to use the ship's weapons in combinations humans had never considered. She taught them formations that could confuse the enemy and maximize their firepower. Aaron noticed that the crew's confidence grew under her guidance. They were no longer just following orders, they were learning, adapting, and thinking like warriors. As the days passed, Kalira also began to open up more personally. She shared small parts of her history with Aaron, drawing pictures of her home planet, her people, and the war she had fought. She spoke of betrayal and loss, of friends who had died, and of the loneliness of her long stasis. Aaron listened quietly, never interrupting. He understood that these were memories that hurt, and he knew she needed to tell them in her own time. One night, Aaron found her sitting in the lab, staring at her reflection in the glass. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "I remember. Old life," she said softly. Not free. Once now. Free, but fear. Lose freedom again." Aaron sat beside her. "You are free now, and you will stay free. I promise." Kalira looked at him, her violet eyes glistening. "I believe you." It was a simple statement, but it carried a lifetime of trust and fear. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He had never known someone to rely on him so completely. The next attack came during a quiet shift in the crew schedule. The Dominion fleet had learned to anticipate their moves and had coordinated a strike designed to catch them off guard. But Kalira had anticipated this. She moved through the bridge like a shadow, giving rapid instructions, adjusting shields, and coordinating counterattacks. The enemy ships fired, but their weapons barely scratched the hull. Humans and alien tactics worked together seamlessly. During the fight, Kalira noticed a small boarding pod moving toward the ship. "Pod left."
"Hull!" she shouted.
Aaron and a team of security officers rushed to intercept. Kalira followed, her movements fluid and controlled. They arrived just in time to stop the intruders from breaching the airlock. Kalira fought with precision, using her strength and training to subdue the enemies without killing them unnecessarily. After the battle, Aaron stood beside her. "You saved the ship," he said quietly. Kalira looked around at the damage and then back at him. "We saved together," she said. Her voice was steady, confident. The fear that had gripped her for centuries was no longer there. She had learned to trust, to fight, and to lead. In the following days, Kalira continued to teach the crew. She helped repair systems, improved defenses, and trained humans in alien combat techniques. Aaron noticed that her confidence was growing every day. She no longer flinched at touch, no longer hesitated in decisions, and no longer looked to the past with fear. She was living fully in the present, using her skills to protect those around her. One evening, as the stars glimmered outside the viewport, Kalira sat beside Aaron. He brushed her hair gently as he had done many times before. She leaned slightly into the touch, no longer stiff or afraid. Grateful for you," she said quietly. Aaron smiled. "And I am grateful for you. You've taught us all something important." Kalira looked at him, her violet eyes serious. "What taught?" Aaron considered this. "You've shown us strength, patience, and courage. You've reminded us that even when we are scared, we can still fight for what is right. You've shown us that trust and kindness are powerful weapons, too." Kalira nodded slowly, understanding in her own way. She had been alone for so long, feared and frozen, but now she had a purpose. She had humans who trusted her, a ship that relied on her, and a friend who cared for her. She had a life to live, and she was determined to protect it. As the days turned into weeks, Kalira's influence on the crew became clear. Humans and aliens alike followed her guidance without question. She had become a bridge between species, showing that trust, cooperation, and courage could overcome fear and prejudice. Aaron watched her quietly, proud and amazed. She had come so far from the frozen prisoner in the derelict ship. The Dominion fleet would return, Aaron knew it. But he also knew that with Kalira by his side, they had a chance to survive. She had proven herself in battle, in strategy, and in trust. And Aaron realized something else. Kalira had changed them all. She had shown humans that even in the darkest moments, hope and courage could shine. That night, Kalira sat with Aaron in the observation deck. The stars outside shimmered like diamonds, and the hum of the ship was soothing. "We might face more danger?" she asked quietly. Yes, Aaron said, but together we can handle anything. Kalira leaned back slightly, relaxing fully for the first time in a long time. Together, she repeated, her voice calm. For the first time in centuries, she felt safe. She had a purpose, she had trust, and she had allies. The fear of isolation and betrayal that had haunted her for so long was fading. Aaron smiled, brushing a loose strand of silver hair from her face. Sleep well tonight. Tomorrow we prepare for whatever comes next. Kalira closed her eyes, her body finally at ease. For the first time in centuries, she felt like she belonged. And Aaron knew that no matter what the Dominion fleet threw at them, they would face it together, stronger, smarter, and braver than ever before. The Dominion fleet was coming. Sensors on the Aurora's light detected hundreds of ships moving fast, cutting through the stars like knives. Aaron and Kalira stood together on the bridge, looking at the approaching ships. The crew worked quickly, preparing weapons, shields, and defense systems. Every human aboard was tense, but they trusted Kalira's guidance completely. Kalira studied the fleet carefully. They attack. All sides, she said. Center, heavy fire. Left, weaker. Right, guard, strong. Her violet eyes scanned each movement, calculating the best strategies. Aaron nodded. Then we split their focus. Follow your plan. Kalira gave clear, fast instructions. Left guns, focus. Right shields. Strengthen. Center. Fire first. The crew obeyed without hesitation, trusting her instincts and strategy. The Dominion ships fired, sending beams of energy that rocked the Aurora's light. Alarms blared and lights flickered. But Kalira remained calm, moving from console to console, guiding the crew, her mind sharper than anyone else on the ship. Aaron watched her in awe. She had changed so much since they first found her. She was no longer frightened or frozen. She was a warrior, a leader, and someone humans could rely on completely. Her years in stasis had not destroyed her. They had made her stronger. The first wave of enemy fire hit the left shields. Sparks flew across the control panels, and the crew struggled to keep systems online. Kalira shouted commands quickly. Reinforce. Divert power, Aaron. Help me reroute engines. Aaron moved to her side, working with her. Together they adjusted the shields and engines, keeping the ship stable. The Dominion fleet underestimated the humans and their alien ally, and Kalira knew it. Suddenly, a small squad of Dominion fighters broke through the perimeter, heading straight for the engine room. Aaron and a security team rushed to intercept. Kalira joined them, moving with incredible speed and precision. Her alien strength and training made her nearly unstoppable. She disabled the intruders without killing them unnecessarily, using careful strikes and calculated moves. Aaron watched her, amazed. You are incredible, he said. Kalira gave a small nod, focusing on the next threat. We survive. Together, she said. Her voice was calm, but Aaron felt the weight of her trust and determination. She had chosen to fight with them, and she was fully committed. The battle continued for hours. The Dominion fleet attacked from every direction, but Kalira's strategies kept them off balance. Aaron coordinated with her, following her instructions precisely. Humans and alien tactics worked together perfectly. The crew fired weapons at precise moments, dodged enemy attacks, and repaired damage quickly. Every movement was guided by Kalira's experience and instincts. During the fight, Kalira noticed a large command ship trying to retreat through a narrow asteroid field. She realized that if it escaped, the Dominion could regroup and attack again later. Aaron, command ship! Cannot escape, she shouted. Aaron quickly organized a team. We'll intercept it. Follow Kalira's lead. Kalira guided them through the asteroid field, pointing out safe paths and ambush points. The Dominion command ship fired, but Kalira anticipated every move. The humans blocked shots, returned fire, and finally cornered the enemy vessel. Kalira moved closer, her hands on the controls, her mind calculating every step. She instructed Aaron and the crew to disable the ship without destroying it. With precise maneuvers, they trapped the command ship. Aaron opened the comms channel. Surrender, he said. There's no way out. The Dominion commander's voice hissed through the speakers. You are weak. You cannot stop the Dominion. Kalira's voice, calm and commanding, responded. You underestimated us. We fight together, humans and Kalira. You will not win. The Dominion ship tried to break free, but the Aurora's light and its crew, guided by Kalira, held firm. Finally, the enemy commander gave in. We surrender, he said. Kalira and Aaron exchanged a brief glance. relief passing between them. They had won this battle, but they both knew more challenges could come. After the fight, the crew began repairs. Kalira moved through the ship, checking systems, helping wherever needed. Aaron followed her, offering assistance and support. She worked tirelessly, showing no fear, only determination. That night, Aaron found her in the observation deck, staring at the stars. "You saved everyone today," he said softly. Kalira looked at him, her violet eyes tired but bright. "We saved together," she replied. Aaron smiled. "You've taught us so much. About courage, about trust, about fighting even when the odds are against us." Kalira's eyes softened. "I never thought humans strong like this. You fight with heart, not just weapons." Aaron took her hand gently. "That's what makes us strong, and you've shown us how to be better too." She looked at him, then down at their hands. Her fingers twitched slightly, a small sign of emotion. She had been alone for centuries, but now she had someone to trust completely. The next day, Kalira led the crew in final repairs and strengthening the ship. She showed them new ways to use the shields, to position weapons, and to avoid attacks. The humans had learned quickly, inspired by her experience and skill. Aaron watched proudly. They were not just surviving, they were growing stronger together. Later, Kalira and Aaron went to the lab where the crew had gathered. "We face unknown next," she said, "but together, we survive." The crew nodded, inspired by her words. Humans and alien allies alike trusted her completely. Aaron looked at her, admiration and gratitude shining in his eyes. "You've done more than survive," he said. "You've made us all stronger. You've shown us what it means to trust, to fight, and to protect each other." Kalira's eyes glistened slightly. "I learned from you too," she admitted quietly. "You care even when afraid." The crew worked late into the night, preparing the ship for the next possible attack. Kalira moved among them, helping, guiding, and encouraging. Aaron stayed close, watching her with pride. She was no longer the frightened, frozen prisoner they had found. She was a leader, a protector, and a friend. As they finished preparations, Aaron and Kalira returned to the observation deck. The stars outside were calm now, but Aaron knew the universe would always hold danger. "Do you ever get afraid?" he asked softly. Kalira looked at him, her violet eyes reflecting the starlight. "Yes, sometimes, but fear, not control me. Anymore, I protect and fight with heart." Aaron smiled. "That's all any of us can do. Face what comes. Together." Kalira nodded, leaning slightly against him. She had learned to trust fully, to fight fully, and to live fully. The past with its fear and isolation was behind her. Now she had humans who relied on her, a ship that needed her skills, and a friend who would stand with her no matter what. The calm night passed, and dawn came with a new sense of hope. Aaron and Kalira walked through the ship together, checking systems and encouraging the crew. They laughed, shared stories, and even joked lightly, a sign of how far Kalira had come. As the aurora's light moved through the stars, Kalira stood beside Aaron on the bridge. "We survived many battles," she said, "but more may come." Aaron nodded. "Then we'll face them, together." She smiled faintly, a human expression that seemed both alien and familiar. "Together," she repeated. For the first time in centuries, Kalira felt truly alive. She had trusted humans, learned their ways, and fought alongside them. She had found companionship, courage, and purpose. The Dominion fleet could return, the universe could bring more danger, but Kalira knew one thing. With humans like Aaron and the crew, she would never be alone again. Aaron looked at her, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "You're more than a warrior," he said. "You've changed all of us. Humanity is stronger because of you." Kalira's violet eyes softened. "And stronger because of you," she said quietly. "I trust humans now." The stars outside shimmered like diamonds, and the hum of the aurora's light was steady and calm. Kalira, once a prisoner frozen for centuries, had found freedom, trust, and a new purpose. She would fight, protect, and live, not alone, but with humans who had shown her the strength of heart. As Aaron and Kalira stood side by side on the bridge, looking out at the vast universe, they knew one thing clearly. No matter what came next, they would face it together. They were stronger, braver, and more determined than ever. The Dominion fleet might return, the dangers of space might challenge them, but Kalira and Aaron, and the humans who had learned to fight with heart, would survive. And they would do it together. The stars stretched on endlessly, but on the Aurora's light a human and an alien had found hope, courage, and trust, and that was enough to face any darkness ahead.